When I was first getting started in the video production industry, one of the things I was really curious about was how people got to be successful, and not even necessarily to the Hollywood level, but even just to the regional market, commercial DP, that level. And so that was something that I was really curious about. As I have gone through my own journey, I've kind of started to learn what that looks like. And so maybe you're in that place curious about how to get from point A to point B, how to get from brand new to the industry, no gear, no experience, no portfolio, to successful working professional in video production. What I want to do today is share with you my journey that I've walked, the path that I've gone on, and how I went from that brand new to the industry, fresh out of college, no gear, no experience, to now being a full-time working DP with what I would hope would be a bright career ahead of me. I'll try to keep it brief, but this is a quick rundown of the kind of steps I took to get into video production. So ever since I was a kid, I've been involved in creative stuff. My parents are both in theater. My mom has done some commercials and some film stuff as well. So I've always been in the creative space. But in terms of video specifically, my experience up until college was pretty much Lego stop motions when I was a kid and home videos with friends and family. Now, if you count technicalities, the first film I shot was when I was maybe 8 years old. My parents were hanging out with a couple other family friends, and they all had kids, and we hung out a ton, and we decided that with the couple hours we had, we were going to make a sequel to the Avengers movie. And we did, and it was amazing, and it probably was way better than Age of Ultron, but I opted to shoot the thing instead of being in it. I was going through a shy phase. Anyways, that's technically my first credit. Obviously, that movie has never really been shown anywhere, but technically my first DP credit. Going into college, I wanted to try and blend that creativity with technology side that I had. Those were kind of two things I was interested in. So I went into graphic design. I quickly figured out that wasn't what I wanted to do, so I then shifted into communications. You may not know my timing, so COVID happened to hit the second semester of my freshman year, which obviously slowed down a lot of my process, and a lot of everything that anything that was happening in the world was slowed down by that. But then my junior year started to kind of pick back up, and classes started to go back a little bit back to normal. And so I started to get really involved with my school's program. They didn't have a film program per se, but I got involved with their broadcasting program, which was mainly focused on news and sports. I somewhat enjoyed that, but my senior year, I got the opportunity to do a few more creative projects, some comedy pieces and some promotional work and some commercial style things and doc style things. A professor my senior year and I got really close, and he actually offered me an opportunity to go into business together. At that point, I was thinking I would want to move more into writing and directing, and so we kind of talked about what that could look like in terms of us going into business together. That unfortunately fell through because of some personal things on his end, and honestly, from my end, I don't think I was the right fit. I don't think I was ready for that yet. But I had a camera and I had bills, but I didn't have so much stress because I was living with my parents. So I had a little bit of a safety net, and that kind of allowed me the freedom to say, okay, well, I've got a camera and I need to make some money, and let's see what I can do. The only thing I could think to do was to start asking around anyone and everyone. I luckily had some potential connections in just general creative spaces, and slowly but surely little things popped in here, popped in there, editing job here, quick little assist here. But the consistency through all of them was that I was initiating and I was just offering to help people. How can I help you? Hey, can I shadow you and help out for free? Those were the things that provided a lot of opportunities. I also had the opportunity to share some of my time on passion projects. So there was a short film that I got to shoot. They had pretty much no one on their whole team that had any kind of video experience. So me coming up and knowing how to operate a camera and bring some creativity to how we could shoot things, they were essentially like, hey, we don't really have any experience and you seem like you do. Could you just shoot the whole thing? So, aside from the Avengers movie back when I was 8, this was kind of my first opportunity to DP something in a sense. We didn't have crew, we didn't really have lighting besides a few random little LEDs I had, but I got the opportunity to just shoot it how I wanted to shoot it and make suggestions and be creative, and that provided me a lot of insight on what I might want to move forward with and pursue in terms of like niche jobs rather than just video production as a whole. From there, I really started to hone the craft of cinematography, and a lot of the stuff that I was doing would probably be considered videography. It was social videos, it was corporate shoots, still some passion projects mixed in there, but it was kind of into that market that's more traditional. That's what a lot of people are doing. So once I had broken into that space, I was starting to make a little bit more money, but it was still very much like in the realm of, hey, for $500, I will plan, script, schedule, shoot, edit, re-edit, third revision, for $500 total, like that kind of scope of things. So that's kind of the world I was in for a couple months. And then I got an opportunity that kind of pivoted things for me, which was my first opportunity to shoot and not edit something. So just come in and decide how something's going to look, decide how something's going to feel. And that kind of gave me an insight onto, okay, I really like this. I don't mind having to do everything every once in a while. I get a little bit more creative say on the project, but this is what I really like to do because I love the production process, but I don't love pre-production and I really don't love post-production. So it gave me more insight about what I wanted to pursue. A side note that I want to touch on is that in that world, as I started to pick up kind of momentum, I never really had to market myself. I didn't put Facebook or Instagram ads out. I didn't really have to, walk up to people. I did this a few times, but it never resulted in anything but walk up to them and hand them my business card and introduce myself and be like, hey, like I'll shoot you a free video and maybe we can set up a retainer after that. Like all the typical business stuff that you see in terms of like, here's how to make 10K in videography quick. Like none of that stuff. I didn't have to do any of that stuff. And not to say that that stuff is bad, but that just wasn't the route I wanted to go. And connections that just kind of happened naturally as a result of me networking and talking about what I was doing in terms of like, I was posting on my personal social media pages. Again, no ads, but just like, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm making. And word of mouth happened and, projects kept coming. However, one thing I was intentional about was people skills first. And I think my work is good. And I think my work was okay back then, enough to get by in terms of what those scale of projects were. But I was on time. I was a quick communicator. I was an efficient worker and I respected people. And I think that's something that people really notice and they talk about and they pass along. And that's something that regardless of whether you're marketing yourself or you are just doing word of mouth, whatever your marketing strategy is, being a good person is going to constantly be a huge factor in whether or not you're getting hired again or referred to other people. If you made it this far in the video, this is a DJI mic that is sitting on a screwdriver because I didn't want to hold it like this. So if you've been wondering this whole time what that is, that's what that is. So now that we've kind of run through how I got into video production in general, let's talk about how I became a full-time DP. So this is going to sound counterintuitive, but what really kind of kickstarted my career was I got a part-time job at a church doing kind of a little bit of everything in terms of creative. So I was just their one-man creative team. And so I was doing graphic design and photo and video and social media and communications and all that stuff. Again, sounds counterintuitive, but what this provided was a safety net. And while normally a part-time job has some rigidity to it, this was more of it honestly kind of functioned as like a contractor retainer role in terms of like, I kind of dictated my own schedule. I could take days and be like, hey, I can't come in this day because I'm doing this, like super flexible. And this was an amazing, amazing thing. I was actually still working there up until the start of this year. It basically provided me a way to have steady income, to pay my bills and any other little expenses, while not fully worrying about having to hustle. I could kind of curate my jobs just a little bit on that front end, which I think is a huge blessing and not something that everybody gets to do. In terms of finances, I was able to cover my bills with the church job, and then any freelance income I made mostly was being invested back into the business. I spent a lot of intentional money to build kit and, kind of go like, okay, I was at the 6600, now I've got my FX3, and now I've got my FX6, now I've got aperture lights, and not only investing into higher end gear, but like systems that I could grow with. So going from like the Sony crop sensor camera to the FX3 to the FX6 and knowing that like my lenses were going to transfer all the way. And my first aperture light was a 300C, the Amaran, but then moving all the way up to like a 600D and a 700X and a 400X, like I recognize that there is so much talk on YouTube about equipment and Instagram and all this stuff about gear and cameras and lenses and lights and all this stuff. gear matters. If anyone tries to tell you that gear doesn't matter, it does. It's important to have the right tools. My dad always said, if you're a plumber and you show up and someone's got a leak and you don't have the right thing to solve their problem, you're not a very good contractor and they're probably going to call someone else. That being said, there are creative solutions and you don't always need the highest of high-end things, but gear does matter. What matters more is that you know how to use it. And that'll kind of take me into the next thing that I was really intentional about, which was honing my craft. I studied endlessly, and I still am, about cinematography and methods and strategies and lighting and camera placement and camera movement and equipment and all this stuff. I studied from the internet. I watched YouTube videos. I read books and magazines, and I learned from other people. I would work on bigger sets, and I would grip, and I would PA, and I would just ask people like, hey, can I shadow? Hey, can I come work this? Like, hey, do you have any availability? Hey, can I just stop by this shoot for 30 minutes? Hey, can I take you out to coffee? And just ask people questions. And if they're not available to ask questions to, like, just watch and sponge. I think I just like learned so much through absorption of like, they're doing this. Okay, this is how they're lighting. Okay, I don't think that's a really good tactic. Like that's causing some drama between them and the director. So all this kind of stuff that I was just like sponging up information. And then another thing that I was doing was critiquing myself. I would like scour through my projects and watch my reel over and over and over again and pick it to shreds, and not in this like self-deprecating way, but just in the way of like, I could have lit that shot better. Okay, if I could shoot that again, how would I light it this time? Okay, what would I do here? Okay, this camera move was actually really good. Like, give myself some, credit where credit is due as well. But just that constant like striving to like improve on the craft, I think, is something that has really pushed me far. And I was like never settled with like, okay, I think I'm good enough to pass. Like, I think I'm good enough. I've got things mostly covered. Like, I can light an interview frame pretty well. I think I'm good to go. Like, no, I just want to keep getting better. And I think that was something that has and still does continue to like carry into, the trajectory, hopefully, of where I'm kind of headed. And then the last thing I'll touch on as to things that kind of, I feel like, pushed me into being a full-time DP is, again, it's going to sound weird, but like calling myself a DP when I don't really think that I was yet. Again, I did a lot of work that you would consider like videography, and it was walk in, set up a key light at a 45-degree angle, and point the camera at a person and stick a boom mic in their face and like scroll through a teleprompter, or ask them a few interview questions, or let the producer ask a few interview questions, or like all this stuff that's like super simple, super basic, or like run and gun event capture, or doc style stuff where it's interviews and B-roll. All this stuff, again, that you'd probably consider videography, but I didn't market myself as a videographer. I never tried to get like a ton of social media retainers. I never tried to get, all this kind of work that'd be in that realm, because I wanted to work in this realm. And even though I wasn't really there yet, anything that I did that I think could be considered or perceived to be in that realm, that's what I pushed out. On my website and my Instagram, I had myself not listed as videographer or photographer or video producer. I had myself listed as DP or cinematographer. And it's because that's what I wanted to be. Like, I didn't want people to look at me and be like, oh, that's Colin, like the videographer. Like, no, that's Colin, the cinematographer. And whether or not my work spoke for itself, like, I wanted to define my identity for myself as opposed to letting it just kind of ebb and flow, because I wanted people to know, and then hopefully when I get to that place, like, they'll be like, yeah, he's a cinematographer. Like, yeah. Hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, or if you are questioning whether or not it worked, I got my first DP job, what I would consider like a true DP job, as like a commercial DP, in December of 2024. So like I was going to DP, I was going to bring all the gear, and I was going to bring all the crew. And I had never done that before, but like there had to have been a first time. So I did it, and I showed up, and I was confident, and I was like, I haven't done this before, but I know I can do this. And I did. And like there were some hiccups, but I've done it since then, and I'm continuing to get better at it. And now I've DP'd a whole bunch of things, and I can confidently say like, yeah, no, I am a DP. Like I do that. That's what I do. And I'm still not like shooting stuff for Nike or for Hollywood, but like I'm DPing stuff, and that's what I wanted to do. And I hate the word manifested, but like I believed that I could be something, and I decided to make it happen, and it happened. I don't know. I just think that there's a lot of power when you believe you can do something, and making it happen for yourself can be a really big thing. I don't say any of this stuff to be like, wow, I'm so great, or pat myself on the back or anything like that. I'm like approaching 3 full years since I graduated college and like stepped into video production full time. And so I share this to say so much can happen and you can learn so much, and so much can change in that amount of time if you believe in it and you put your effort in and you work hard and you stay humble and you learn and you ask questions and you stay curious. All of that summed up is my advice to you wherever you are in this journey. Again, if you are ahead of me, where I am, behind me, wherever you are, you're right where you're supposed to be, and you've got this and you can do this. And I know that because I've been where you are, probably, unless you're way ahead of me, but I've been where you are in terms of I've wanted to get somewhere else. And I stood where I was, saw where I wanted to go, and started taking steps. I didn't jump and get there immediately. I started taking steps and I got there eventually. And now I have a new place I want to go, and I'm going to keep taking steps to get there. I hope that's encouraging. I hope that this video has given you some insight onto some steps you could take if you are wanting to become a DP, or if there's another position that you're wanting to kind of step into. A lot of the same stuff would apply. And yeah, I hope that you're encouraged and invigorated by the path that I've been on, because I know it's fun to look back and just see the road that I've been on and see where I'm going. And I think it's important to look back and be thankful for the things that have happened. So yeah, that's all I've got for you today. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Peace.